So Alfred Lengler studied medicine and psychology in 3 different countries, actually, in Austria, in France, and in Italy. He worked very closely together with Viktor Frankl between 1982 and 1991, and it was during this time that he founded the International Society for Logotherapy and Existential Analysis and really became the first person to move towards a systematic training in existential analysis. He's written literally dozens of books and journal articles. I'd point you to his website, lengle.info, if you want to take a look at that. There's not only journal articles there, but also videos and audio recordings there that you can take a look at here. He's a visiting professor at a variety of different universities in Moscow, at the Sigmund Freud University in Vienna, and then also in South America in Mendoza there. Like I said, he's been coming here on an ongoing basis. He comes here to provide some training, but also to give such free and wonderful lectures as we're going to see tonight. So I'd like to ask you to welcome with me Alfred Lengler here tonight to talk about love.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Derek, for your nice presentation and for representing EA Canada as the chairman of the society. Thank you for coming. So many new people. I'm surprised, and we have quite a lot of number of people who are interested in love in Canada. I didn't know that this is interesting here. And so it was a first trial to speak about love. I love to speak about love, but it's not so easy. I'm a bit embarrassed. The theme is big, and there are different experiences on love. So to introduce the theme, I want to give some reflections or some thoughts which make me hesitate to speak about love. It is a theme which is so close to everyone, to the human being, and it encompasses happiness as well as big suffering. So it has an extreme polarity, love. And there are so many forms of love. We all know them. Parental love, love between siblings, love of the child, for children, love for partners, for friends, homosexual love, heterosexual love, love for art, love for nature, love for pets. And it is a central theme in our culture, in the Christian culture, in the European and North American or American culture. Agape, the charity. But what is charity? So, big theme. And there are so many forms to live love, in a platonic way, per distance. The sublime love, the physical love. You can love in a French way, in a German way. There are sadomasochistic or forms of love. There is a big love and sexual movement which started in the 1968. I was a youngster then, and it was a very interesting time. Love is a central theme in art, in music, in painting, in visual art, in poetry, and in science, in philosophy, in psychology, in developmental psychology. So the question, therefore, the question here is, when love is so central, may I ask you, for whom is love a central, important experience? Who experienced love here, can you give me a sign that we can see who thinks love was important for me? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, everybody. But who had positive experience, dominating positive experiences with love? Is that for everybody true? It's about half of the group. And who has suffered from love? Maybe everybody. No, it was about this a bit more than before. Do you have a question concerning love? A question with which you come tonight? A question which you would like to be answered? Can you formulate it for yourself? I hope I will meet your question. If not, you can bring it up at the end and I will start again. A big question which I am asking myself as a psychologist and psychotherapist is, where do people get information or education about love? Most people take it out from television, from movies, from journals, from books. We rarely speak about love. It is a difficult theme. It is also critical in our times to talk about love because some philosophers and psychologists speak about a time which is a time of objectification, of reification, with a high level of the impact of the medias, the mass medias, and the advertising, which destroyed the ideal of romantic love. It is commercialized for many people, and this makes it difficult to find their own way of loving. But on the other hand, we live in a time which is individualizing, which is dominated by personal freedom, by self-determination, by autonomy. So this is also seen as an impact on destructing the common sense of love, the ideal of living a communality, togetherness, because the level of individualization is so high nowadays. And this is seen for many people as the main reason why people get much more separated than 50 years ago. But I think the combination of these two poles of our social development is not so bad, because the individualization brings up much more personal responsibility, needs much more personal decision, also in living together. And we are maybe more honest and have more possibilities to live clarity in relationship and even to get separated, because if we love, there is no guarantee that it will continue. And if it doesn't work fine together, it's a big question if we should continue to live together or to separate and to come to a clear decision in separation. This can also be very helpful and deepen our life. But there is a tendency that people take it too easy nowadays and separate where the separation is not yet mature, is not just because of a little difficulty people have. So it belongs to a good relationship, and it shows the strength of a good relationship to handle difficulties and problems. So the romantic love, the classical romantic love, maybe is difficult to live nowadays. But the individual, decided, personal love, the personal style in love becomes much more prevalent nowadays. So this is the good side and the danger side of our actual life, our society, our culture. There is also a pessimistic view on love, which says that love is utopia. That love, real love, doesn't almost happen. But maybe this is referring to a form of idealization of love. The idealized love is not a real love. Real love means struggling, means hurting. Even in love, we hurt each other. Real love means continuation. But maybe this continuous stability of a loving relationship is no more visible or not prevalent that much as it was before. But I have my doubt if this stability of togetherness was really based on love or more based on formal issues, which are nowadays seen much freer than before. Love, and this I want to show in this presentation, is one of the most stable capacities and realities for of the human being. But love is no guarantee for happiness, is no guarantee for not having problems, for not suffering. We must see it in combination with the suffering. We will come to that point. Love can lead to deep happiness, despite the pain with which it may be combined. Love is needed to come to a stable development in the childhood. To development, love and attachment is basic to find one's ego and to become oneself. We cannot develop healthily if we are not loved. So it is the most important basis for life quality and fulfillment in life. And when people die, and when we ask people, what was the most important in your life? 80% of people say, the people I have loved. This was the most valuable in my life in face of death. When we look back, this we should keep in mind. We all have to die, and one day we are standing before this question: what was it worth living for? But we must see that at the same time, despite of this deep happiness which is possible by love, love is always in danger, threatened by human beings, by our dispositions, by our limitations, by our human limitations. And it is threatened by the zeitgeist, by the social and economical and cultural conditions. So it is helpful to know a bit more about love to find out the best way how we can live it and how we can deal with the difficulties which come along with love. To close this introduction, I bring you some very old thoughts about love. The oldest thoughts maybe in our cultures and in other cultures. Without love, life has no sound, has no poesy, no content. To live a formal life without love is not enough. All knowledge, all information, all philosophy, all commitment is played. All foundations, donations, funds, all presents, all support is not valuable, is not helpful without love. All investigation, all knowledge, all wisdom, all belief is nothing without love. This is written in the Song of Love. I put it into a bit more modern words, but this is the content. St. Paul, in the letter to the Corinthians, in chapter 13, he says that love is patient, is kind. Love enjoys the truth. And love can support everything, and believes everything, and hopes everything, out of this knowledge of this recognition of truth. Love needs humility. And love never stops. Where there is real love, he writes, that it never stops. We will see if this is possible. And at the end he says this famous phrase, there remain belief, hope, and love, these three patterns. But love is the greatest amongst them. 600 years before St. Paul, Lao Tse wrote about love. Lao Tse has a list about the influence of love on several activities and attitudes of the human being. I give you some of them. Duty without love makes annoyed. Truth without love brings an addiction to critique. Prudence without love makes sharp. Justice without love makes hard. Order without love makes petty. Power without love makes violent. You have always this idea of it makes it softer, it makes it adapting, it makes it more human. Love makes us more human. Lao Tse describes it so nicely. Property without love makes greedy. Belief without love makes fanatic. Woe betide anyone who is greedy with love. Why living if not for love? Now, I would like to give you a description of main elements of love, and then in the second half of the presentation to speak about some difficulties and practical approaches to love and to deal with love. What is the bed of love? How is love, where is love embedded? Love is a form of relationship. But it is much more than just relationship. But relationship is the basis of love. What is relationship? Relationship is a feeling of connectedness, of resonance. In a relationship, I am referring to the other. I'm interested in the other. I feel we belong somehow together. It may be a clinging relationship, which is a bit too strong, a dependent relationship. This is also a sick form of relationship. It may be a free relationship. It may be an aggressive relationship. But there is always this togetherness. We belong together. Love, relationship is outlasting. It contains the whole experience. Whatever happened between us, whatever we did each other, remains in that container of relationship forever. This is something astonishing. It is so beautiful that we can keep all our experiences in a good relationship. And this connects us. And when we grow older, this is a treasure of shared experiences, which is like a tie between us. But this is also a danger. All the hurtings and injuries and all the bad and the mad we did each other is also contained in the relationship. Relationship is a container which keeps the whole experience, the bad and the good, forever. When I meet a friend after a separation of 20, 30, 40 years, it may be in my age, 40 years, and meet that person on the street, the relationship is there. That's not a new person, as long as you don't have Alzheimer. A relationship is something which we cannot avoid. As soon as we see somebody, as soon as we are aware of somebody, we are already in a relationship. We behave differently. We walk around, or we don't steer in the nose in the presence of somebody looking at me, which I would do in the toilet, but not when somebody is there. Even a strange person which I don't know, whom I don't know. So we cannot avoid relationship. Whenever we are aware, we are already connecting somehow, but this is a very basic form of relationship. The relationship which is important for love means that we are taking up the relationship, that we are entering the relationship, that we are interested in the other, that we want to feel the other, that we want to be with the other. We want closeness. And we want feel, because a relationship is, this taking up of a relationship means there are feelings coming up. It's not only rationality. A relationship is not rational. It has a rational part, but mainly it is irrational. It is felt, it is emotional. So the relationship means I am ready for being touched. I want to feel you. I want to have your closeness, that I can feel how you are. And when I want to take up a relationship, I want to be near to you and with you, and connect emotionally, and feel resonance, and to give time. And for a relationship, the relationship grows by giving time, by spending time. This form of relationship we enter deliberately. We take it up, we spend time, and time is lifetime. This is some of my life, which I want to live with that person in closeness. Closeness is very important for relationship. There's a nice picture. Distance, when people love each other and become separated by any reason of professional reasons or going to the army or whatever, as they become separated for a certain time, the relationship is a bit in danger. How will it turn out after this months, weeks or months, or maybe a year or two, when we come together again? Will the relationship last so long? And the picture is, look at it as to a fire. A weak fire is blown out by the wind, and the separation is like the wind in the fire. And a strong fire is increasing, is glowing in the wind. So separation is a test for a relationship. Relationship is the basis, but it is complemented by something very human. On the basis of this lasting relationship, of this container of experiences, of this felt resonance between us, which somehow we cannot even evade, on this basis happens encounter. Encounter is something different to relationship. This is not so known by many people, that there is a difference between relationship and encounter. Encounter means personal meeting. Encounter means I see you. Encounter means it happens only when I reach you. A relationship is there even if you are turning away. But encounter happens only when you turn towards me, when you look at me and I look at you. When I'm interested in who are you. Relationship or encounter means openness, not only to feel the other, but to understand the other, to see the other. Who are you? What is moving you? What is important to you? While relationship is a lasting experience over the time, is like a line which has a beginning and has no end. Encounter is like a point. It happens only in the moment when we talk to each other, when we look to each other, when we take up, when we meet with a common interest in each other. Then encounter happens. And afterwards, it's no more there. But encounter is nourishing the relationship. It's feeding the relationship. It's changing after each encounter, the relationship is different. It changed a bit. It gained or lost. When it was a real encounter, it always gains. When the encounter was intended but didn't happen, it can produce a loss. So in encounter, we look into the eyes of the other, symbolically speaking. I want to see you. Relationship can happen with closed eyes. It is the fundament on which the house of encounter, of meeting, of dialogue, of speaking with words or without words happens. This is important to know because this makes it understandable what is meant with personal love. What do we experience when we are really loving? This brings us 5 elements which describe love, and I do not pretend that these are all elements, but they are 5 important elements. When we are loving, we experience a value. When we are loving, we experience that I like, that I feel attracted. I feel the value of the other. I feel connectedness, togetherness. The other belongs somehow to me. I didn't know him before, maybe. Or the other is my child, or the other is my father, my mother. Then there was a belonging together since the beginning. But when I meet a friend or a partner, we meet and we feel attraction. It is important to make us aware that love is a feeling. What does it mean to feel attraction? It's not knowing that you are beautiful, that you are lovely, that you are worth for spending time with you, that I can learn from you and whatever. That's not love. Love means I'm touched by a feeling. What does it mean to feel? Feeling means, when you have a feeling, it means that I am touched in my life. My life is in resonance. I am moved by the other. There is an inner movement, and this is basic for love. Love must be felt, and we cannot manipulate feelings. All the manipulation of feelings do not turn out, do not come to a stability. So we cannot make feeling to feel us. It happens by itself. So we are somehow exposed to love. Love shows up by itself or not. And love may disappear by itself or not. We can contribute a little bit. We can contribute by turning towards, by taking time, by intensifying the relationship. We can show interest and talk and do things together. But then this plant of feeling must grow by itself, and it grows or it doesn't. So love is such an important and central issue in our life, but nevertheless, we cannot produce it. We are somehow exposed to it if it happens or not. But this is not an arbitrary happening. It is a happening, it is an event, it is something, it is a result which has a lot to do with ourselves. It has to do with our essence, to what I really am, to what is the core of myself, which I don't know what it is, which appears with where I feel a resonance. It is my essence, my life, which comes into resonance when I start loving, when I feel love. So it is my essential being which is moved in love. In love, in this feeling, in this liking, in this feeling of togetherness, resonates my life. And feelings are a capacity, the human capacity to detect the relevant, what is relevant for life. The feeling, a good feeling, tells me this is fostering my life, this is strengthening my life, this is feeding my life. And the bad feeling tells me this is adversive to my life. This is damaging. This is taking me life away. Then I have a bad feeling. I feel sorry. I feel I have hate or so. Then I'm protecting myself because I'm losing life. But when I have a good feeling, when it is something is tasty, is lovely, is smart, nice, kind, then it is feeding, nurturing my life. So feelings are perceptions. And the feeling of love is a perception how this person is for my life. When my life gets into resonance, then there is some similarity, some familiarity, some intuitive perception of belonging, of togetherness. And it is love which detects us to whom we belong. We do not know so much about ourselves. Maybe our parents would know it better than we do it when we are 20 or 30. Therefore, there are traditions, cultural traditions, that parents choose the partner for the children, which has, and as we know now by psychological investigation, the level of happiness is equal in both forms of searching the partner, if the parents do it or if the children do it by themselves. So we are detected by love. So the first experience, the first element in personal love is the experience of a value. I feel a value, and existentially relevant values must be felt. It's not enough to know about them. Only when we feel them, then we see the values put on the screen of our life. We see it, how it affects our life. The second point is that in love there is an experience of resonance, a feeling of being talked deeply. Personal love is not the feeling of a need. I have the need to eat, to drink. I may have sexual needs, needs of security, of safety, etc. This is not love. Personal love means there is something, somebody talking to me, and I feel addressed, I feel meant. And this is very central for love, that there is the essence of the other who talks to my essence, from heart to heart. This is a central experience in love to a person. You talk to me with your eyes, with the way you move yourself. I feel touched. Something tells me that you are so close to me. You reach my heart unintentionally. It may happen without preparing myself. I see somebody and it starts. It may start after years of working together. We never know when we are ready or when the heart is open and ready for it. This, what is talking to my heart, is something which can lead to some unexpected results. Like Karl Jaspers once said that with the years, the woman becomes more beautiful, but only the loving person sees it. Only who loves sees the beauty which is growing. Because the essence, if we have the openness towards what you really are, then we can see through the superficiality. Or Max Scheler, as a phenomenologist, puts love into a phenomenological understanding, which I find very beautiful. He says, in love, we see the maximum of value of the other person. Love is making my eyes seeing deeper, seeing the essence of the other. We see the essential of the other. The loving person looks so deeply. And this happens by itself, because by nature, we as human beings and persons, we have a capacity, a phenomenological capacity, which means a capacity to look through the superficial, to feel intuitively what is going on. This is something, a capacity which no computer can do. This is a human capacity out of this spiritual dimension in the human being. So, to see the maximum of the other, to see the other not only who he is, but also in his or her potentiality, what can be developed, what can come out of the other. And this maximum of value is the essence of the other. So there is an affinity, a closeness of essence. The essence of the other has some correspondence to my own essence, to what makes me the one who I am. Also Goethe said that in love we see the other not as the one who he is, but as the one who he could be. This is incredible. The essence of the human being is not finished, is not ready. It is constantly growing, can develop. And the loving person sees also the potential in the other human being, in the other. And the loving person has the feeling that he or she could be instrumental for that development. That I could contribute to that development. That my presence, my being there, would help the other to become more himself, herself. That this blossom, that this comes to flourish through my presence. And this is a desire to be present, to develop this effect on the other, and that I can experience that through me and my essence, you can be more yourself, and hope the same to get the same from the other. Dostoevsky once said, "To love means to see the human being as God meant him." This is essence. As God meant him, you can put also as he or she is constructed, built, meant, or conceived, born for. To see the whole potentiality in the human being. A third dimension, after experiencing a value, after experiencing the resonance between the essence of you and me, the third is, in love, we practice an attitude. Love is not just a feeling. Love is not just a being grasped by the essence of the other. It also requires a decision, an attitude. It requires my freedom. My freedom becomes concrete, especially through two attitudes. The one is, it's so good for me that you exist. I have the feeling how good that you are. This is, you know, when we encounter someone who has this feeling and attitude and says, wow, I'm happy that you are. You mean so much to me. This cannot touch the other person. This is a great gift. We feel joy that the other is there. And we like to support this being of the other, that the other can be there in a good sense, in a good way, that he can be with me. Therefore, we want to be attractive, that the other also likes to be with me. And the other who loves me feels a joy that I exist. He wants to be with me. So the one attitude is so good that you are. And the other is, I want to be good for you. Not with one single act, not just once. This is not love. It means an attitude. I want to support you. I want to do good to you. In all what I do, I am intending that there is something good for you. It does not mean, love never means, never is being mean to the other. It wants development, improvement, maximize or optimization of life quality. My whole being should be supportive for that. I want it to be supportive for your development, for your being the way you are. The Swiss psychiatrist Binswanger once said that love means to live a concern for the other. Love and concern is a form of love. And where there is love, there is concern. This is more relatedness than just being together. This is an active relatedness. There is my decision behind. There is my will. And this brings me into an attitude, a positive, supporting attitude towards the other. Saint Augustine said, amo, volo, ut sis, which means I love, and this means I want you to be. I want you to strengthen in your being there, in your capacity, in your way, in your quality, that you are there. And Jaspers also says that the central determination of love is that love is generative, is a basis, which means that love is the basis that future may happen between us, that it is generative for the future. Love is therefore, and this is the next point, is a decision. It is a decision, an expression. I want something. That you are you and that you feel well, that you stay well. Viktor Frankl says, or defines love as saying yes to a human being in the way how he or she is, and saying you to that other, to direct towards the person of the other. We can combine it and say, what Frankl's idea about love, to say yes to a you or to a thou. Yes to you. If you think about the people you love or you are related, do you feel that yes to you? The way you are essentially, This yes is something which I do, which I decide for. So love starts by itself, by this relationship, by these feelings which come up. But it needs me to come to an attitude and to a decision for that what is going on. Good that you are the way how you are. Good that you exist. There is an interest in you, in the way how you think, how you feel, how you decide what is important for you. I like the way you speak, you work, you sing, you dance. I feel respect for you. And I like to show myself when I'm in presence with you. The loving, when we love, we want to be together. We want a relationship. It is also a decision. We decide for taking time, and we want to take up closeness. We experience that we do good to each other, which means together we can be more than we are alone. Together I can be more myself, and you can be more yourself. Together, through this resonance of the essence, the two essences are adding, accumulating, and we are more. As a we are more than as an I and a you. Love also wants reality. Love wants that it happens in the world, in this reality. The reality is, or love wants to come to the earth. Love wants to be realized. Love is a profound desire to give. It wants to be materialized. We give flowers, we give presents, we make invitations, we do journeys together, activities, and in the partner relationship, in the partner love, we want sexuality. We want to live for the other in real life, not only by talking about it. It wants to come to earth. It wants to be born into this reality. Love doesn't want to remain a fantasy. At least it wants to become a poem, if something else is not possible. And this connection to the reality also implies that love wants truth, needs truth, wants to become true. Love does not support the lie. And so love helps us to believe in the other, to believe the loved person. And this can go on until to the love of God. And the last point, love wants perspective, future. Love wants duration. We want that it remains as it is. We want not to be separated. We want to have a life together, to have more time together. We want some security that this may go on, may continue. The love, when we love, the most important in life is to remain together, or something very important in life is to remain together, to live for you. It's so natural for parents that parents live for their children. We live for the partner when we love, as long as we love. I want to engage myself. And this means, this becoming fruitful means to transcend my own existence by giving myself into the other, for the other. This is again this generative power in love. To the giving comes a generosity. To make something out of love. Therefore, love is very creative, generative. Love is a basis for art. Love wants to take part the other in one's own life. And the natural form of this generosity of love and to share the common is to have a child. It's very good that normally the children are created in an act of love. But of course, in the human life, it's not always ideal. So after this description of essentially saying this, having a feeling for each other which produces a closeness, which we are taking up, in which we encounter the essence of the other, or the other encounters us. And we decide for it. Love has a decisional part. And then it becomes real. And on this basis of decision, we want to make it real and to bring it into a reality. On this basis, I want to bring up some specific questions about love. One question is, why do we love? There is a saying that we love because we are similar. We love only that person or that person which has some similarity with me. If there is no similarity, we will not start loving. Another observation or theory says we love because we are different. We are complementary. These are opposing poles. What do you think is love? Do we love because we are similar or because we are different? It would be interesting to have a short experiment to see how you see it. Who is in favor for because we are similar? Mm-hmm. And who is for the other pole, that because we are different? Yeah, it is about 1/3 and 2/3, or half of the audience, and the rest is for both. Yeah, you cannot decide yourself. Okay. Yeah. In psychology, the investigations shows that it is equal. Why? The similarity brings up a familiarity. When we have something common, we can take up with the other. It helps for the self-acceptance. It is fortifying. It contains a homoerotic part. When the similarity is something like I am. And it has some narcissistic traits. I love in you what I love in me. So if it's only the similarity, it wouldn't be enough. It needs also a bit of the opposing pole. The difference is inspiring, it's stimulating, it's challenging. It makes the relationship more vivid. We have opposed views. The difference is she wants to go to the sea in the vacation and I want to go to the mountains. So this is a lot of difference. And how can we bring that together? So we can change it from year to year. And then I experience what I never would experience, to go to the sea. If I were alone, I would go to the mountains every year. And so it is inspiring. It brings new aspects of life. And it is complementary to become whole. And it is fostering growth. But the danger is to become alien. If the difference is too big, then the partners may lose each other. Maybe the mirror neurons have to do something also on this level. And here it is interesting to look at this central notion of Christianity: love your neighbor. He is like you. Love your neighbor. In Hebrew, the phrase goes different. As the Rabbi of Frankfurt once translated, Pinchas Lapide, who said, love your neighbor, and in Hebrew, if you translate Hebrew literally, it means he, you. He is like you. So this means that brings up the question, do we have to love ourselves first to be able to love the other? Because if the other is like me, then I must have access to myself to be able to love the other. Do we have to love ourselves first to be able to love the other? Yes and no. Yes, we must be able to live alone for being able to really love. If we are not able to stand on our own feet, then we become dependent. Then we give up our weight on the other, and this will be too much for the other. We must carry our life by our own. And in a good relationship, we don't need the other, but it's much nicer with the other. It has much more quality. But if we need the other, then love starts to strangulate the other. It is too much. We cannot give up the responsibility for ourselves. So we must mature and become ourselves and stand on our own feet. We need this relationship to ourselves, this access to ourselves. This opens the access for the other. Through the access to myself, I can empathize. I can feel what you feel. When I don't have a good relationship with myself, I'm losing you. And we can say in general, the way how I am with myself, how I am relating to myself, how I feel myself, I am with you. But we also need the other. We do not have to start loving ourselves to be able to love. We cannot even start loving ourselves. We must be loved first by parents and other people. Our capacity for loving ignites by the self-reference, or our capacity to love and our self-reference ignites in the love of others. When they love me, when they love us, then we experience that we are somehow a value, that we experience in the eye of the other, in the behaving of the other, that we represent something valuable and good. Love starts with the present, this present of love which we get from others. But our love for ourselves can unfold only in the love of the other. The love of the other makes the starting of our love of ourselves. In the New Testament, this self-reference is the basis for the agape, because it says, love your neighbor like yourself. So it gives the information, you must love yourself and do the same to the other. In the same way as you love yourself, you should love the other. So the self-reference is a precondition to be capable for love. But the self-reference is only pushed from the other, it starts by others and develops in this atmosphere, in this experience of being loved. It's interesting, the Hebrew version and the Greek version, this difference in their understanding, and these are two different cultures from the same starting point. He is like you, so don't love yourself, it doesn't matter. The Hebrew version. And the Greek and Latin version says, yeah, you like yourself and take this as a model, as a role model, how you should love the other. What is the luck in love? What would you say? What is the luck you experienced in love? What is the most beautiful, rich experience you have in love, or you had in love? Maybe we can put it that way, that in love we can experience that there is someone who wants to share me with him or her, and vice versa. The experience that I am invited by someone to experience him or her totally, and to share him or her with me, to be invited into the life of somebody else. When we experience this invitation as beautiful, I think we may say, then I love really. When I want to be with the other and want to do good to him, and when it is nice with him, and beautiful, and rich, and when this happens also to the other, then we are in deep love. So deep that this love makes us ready to suffer. Love is deep passion. And passion means also suffering. When the other is suffering, I'm also suffering. I'm ready to take it and to share it. There is a Hasidic wisdom, Martin Buber brought it. One who loves feels what hurts the other. So we are ready to feel what is hurting, injuring, painful for the other. We want to protect the other from this. We are deeply open for the other person, and we let the other person come in the way he or she is, and we let him or her come until our heart. So passion, love as a passion means I am ready to suffer with you. And love also causes suffering. Love is a passion which produces suffering, multiple suffering. Sometimes the suffering is a longing to the other. And longing can be very painful if it lasts long and we don't meet or can't come together. Or if love is not reciprocal. Or this suffering which comes along with love of not being fulfilled, of being limited. We hurt each other also when we do not want to hurt the other. It happens unwillingly. And we suffer all what the other suffers. And we produce the other suffering with what we suffer from. The resonance is so constant, not only for the positive, but also for the negative. So, if we want to love, we must be ready to suffer. You all know that, especially with children. The small children, how they suffer when they get their teeth. We would like to take them away that suffering, but we cannot. And we suffer maybe more than they suffer as parents. In love, there is a suffering from the glow and the longing for merging, for unity. For a merging which is never totally possible in this life. Because we always fall back into the singularity of our individuality. We can come close. In the orgasm, we are for a second or two almost merged, and then we fall apart again. We cannot reach this ideal, this deep wish of unification. In love, we are never fully the same. We are not an exact replica of each other. The other does not correspond to me totally. The other is not me. And this may also make suffering. We are different, despite of this relationship. And this can produce a withholding in love, that we see that there are some differences which do not correspond to me, which I would like to have, but this partner doesn't have it. So we may withhold because it's not totally ideal. And we may think maybe somebody better comes up, shows up, and I wait. And if nobody comes, then we get married. A not ideal partner. And this is the rule. Before we get married, we normally are being in love. being in love, what does it mean? Being in love can be compared with the paradise. It's the only rest of paradise which exists in our life. Being in love means there is no problem. But only for that period of time, of course. One feels like in heaven. One feels all energy and power. Doesn't have to sleep anymore, not that much anymore. Love itself, this personal love which we described, we described it as a phenomenological capacity. Love, personal love, is seeing the other. Being in love, or the infatuation, is blind. Why? In being in love, we see the other as I dream the partner, as I dream the other, as I have the desire that he or she should be. It is my representation which I love. This makes being in love so charming. There is no shadow side. It is simply paradisic. But in being in love, the activity is turning more around myself than around the other, around my projections, about my idealizations, about my needs and desires. They are projected towards the other. And one sees from the other his or her charm and erotic and attraction. And we fill up this gap of not knowing him with our fantasies and our projections. And therefore we don't see any problem, because we only see the positive, the attractive, and the gaps are filled up with our wishes. So everything is there. This is paradisic. The other is only a trigger for my representations. Therefore, the other can enchant us so much, and even the objects with which that person was in contact have a charm of it. A hair, for instance, a book, a present, something. This object-related love can lead to the fetishism. Fetish is an object which transports what we are in love with. Love pains, love sickness. What can we do? Love can really make us sick and weaken us. A separation, when we are in love and are separated, this makes us thinner, psychologically, physically, psychosomatically. And it may even bring us to the point that we lose our mind. It is wonderful in the opera Lucia di Lammermoor, this aria of the Lucia, how she loses her mind and becomes psychotic. What can we do? It is always helpful to share the love pain with others. And it's always good to talk with oneself about that pain, to go into the silence and to start a grieving process. In the grieving, we find back to ourselves in the depth, to our existence, to our yes to life again. In the grieving, we find back to our essence, which we have to get back, because in love it is in resonance with another essence. It is also good to relate with religion, with art, or to look for new tasks, to go into life again. And there is an ultimate form to deal with such a situation, which is a very high form, a very personal form, that we can continue to live our love even when we are separated. How? We said that love means to have the attitude of I wish you well. And the person who loves can say that I had the feeling that my presence, my essence, does well to you. I hoped it, because I feel it from the other side, from you to me. So I hoped that, and I thought that my presence, in the way I see you, is doing well to you. But now you see it differently. And it's not sure who is right. Maybe you will regret it in a couple of years, which happens quite often. About 50% of separated partners live more or less together after 10 years, as an investigation in Switzerland shows. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we were both wrong. But since I still love you, and since I still want to do well to you, I respect your opinion. If you think that it is the best to separate, to live another life, and not with me, all I can give you is the respect for your decision, in the hope that you are right and that I'm wrong. And this is how I can live my love even in the absence of the partner. I must admit, not everyone is able to do that. And not everyone can do it soon, quickly after a separation. But I encountered many cases, many clients who were able to do that. And some of them brought it up by themselves. It is a human possibility to live love even in separation. But of course, this needs that I stand on my own legs, that I'm based within me, and that I have other resources. Because sometimes this love sickness cannot be overcome. When we are too much grown together, when we complete each other so well, then it can be the case that we cannot really overcome that pain. This is also a possibility. And I do not mean the symbiosis. In symbiosis you have a catastrophe, then you have a clash. I mean a healthy loving relationship. So we should not idealize, and we should not think that we are capable to do in every case to come to a clear healing. Such stories are stories for literature and for art. Jealousy is envy of relationship. It is a theme of self-value. Investigations show clearly that the lower the self-value, the higher the readiness for jealousy, the more jealousy is there. The higher the self-value, the more I know who I am and that the other person cannot take me away my self-value, and then I feel less jealous. Jealousy is the feeling that I do not belong to the other, that I am excluded. But I have the right to possess the other. I need, from my self-understanding, that you should be as nice, as kind to me as you are with the other person, or even more. Jealousy is not respectful. Jealousy is quite narcissistic. Jealousy wants to possess the other. And in jealousy, it is turning around oneself. Sexuality and love. Some remarks. Sexuality means both heterosexuality and homosexuality. Homophilia is also possible on the same personal level as heterophilia. Love and sex are not only directed towards procreation. Love and sex are directed towards community and to communication. And love is always open to something new, to a future, to a form of procreation. But it need not necessarily be a child. It can also be a shared idea, a project, a task, art, or just the celebration of life. Sexuality is based in the body and in the psyche. Sexuality must happen through the body. Otherwise, it is platonic love. Merleau-Ponty describes sexuality as being in a bias. There is an ambiguity in sexuality. In sexuality, the other person is always subject and object at the same time. Subject who experiences and object to me. And in sexuality, and this makes it sometimes a bit difficult, because it's maybe not always on the same level. It cannot be always equilibrated. Both sides are in sexuality. The personal side and the functional side. There is encounter, communication, which happens over the body and the senses, and which brings up a wholeness of experience. And at the same time, there is this functional level to satisfy a desire, a lust, the desire of living life, enjoying life. Sexuality makes love or makes a relationship graspable. And therefore we say there was something between them when they had some sexuality. Something. Love is graspable. Love becomes real, material in life. Sexuality does not need necessarily love. Sexuality we can enjoy sexuality also without love, without self-transcendence, without this personal dimension. In sexuality, we experience this vitality, this power of life, this joy of life, this zest for life. This is, of course, if it's pure sexuality, pure love or zest for life, is not the highest possible form, because the personal dimension is lacking in that case. Therefore, sexuality in a partnership, combined with love, makes it complete. Then sexuality brings love onto the earth, and makes it real, makes an incarnation of love. But we should also see, and I think in the last decades it became much more spread and popular, that the particularized sexuality, the sexuality without love, can also be enjoyed. It means experiencing and enjoying a partial aspect of our life. It is tickling the senses when there is eroticism, because sexuality intends a wholeness. It may not reach it, but it goes into this direction. Erotic sexuality promises a lot, but it can keep that announcement only when the holistic attitude, when the personal dimension is also present, and when the psychic is in tune with it. Otherwise, the basis, the fundaments is lacking. And when the sexual arousal ceases, then there is no further resonance. It is like a wine has no aftertaste. Two more aspects, briefly. Fidelity and infidelity. Why is infidelity hurting us? Because in infidelity we experience a loss of the uniqueness and singularity of our being. Infidelity, sexual infidelity, means that the other is not there only for me in his roots, in his genitals. He's not only there for me in the deepest, and makes me exchangeable, makes me alien to him and to myself with another person. It means that the relationship, the love, comes into a reification. It makes it for an end. It makes it an object. It does not correspond to my essence. And it hurts my self-value. When infidelity hurts, this means the other means more to me than just an object of lust. He is to me a person. But when infidelity brings up despair, then there is maybe more dependence. To overcome unfaithfulness, this needs time. We need to make new experiences so that we can trust the other, And only out of these new experiences over maybe months or even a year or two, we can trust again and gain this security of the other. In partnership, there was an investigation made by Jörg Willi, who investigated the difficulties in partnership and the reproaches in partnership. And they show how love can disappear, how the person can become lost under the claims of the other and under the expectations of the other. I bring you some few reproaches, what men reproach to women and what women reproach to men. There is the main reproach of men towards women is that they are too controlling on the level of nesting, too controlling, too petty, that they want to tie down, to hold on, that they reproach the women to be too dependent, to not have enough initiative, that they want too much closeness. There's another cluster of reproaches which goes around the education of the man. Women have a tendency, which is a reproach of men towards women, that they want to educate their men. They reproach that you know everything better, that you want to be always right, that you are pedantic, dominant, unforgiving, patronizing. Maybe we should see it should be matronizing. And there is another cluster of emotional openness. Men reproach women, you are too emotional, too affective, too impulsive, not controlled enough, and transgressing borders. On the other side, women reproach men. I don't know if you have an idea what their reproaches are. You have a tendency to get away, to be unapproachable. You don't have enough time. You let me too much alone. You do not engage. You do not take over responsibility. You do not enough for household and children. And another cluster is the lack of recognition. You don't take me serious. You don't listen to me. You remain uncommitted, unattentive. And another cluster is the emotional inapproachability. You do not speak to me. You are not communicative, egocentric. You are not, I cannot feel you. You are distant. You do not let me come close to you. You do not empathize. You only want. Do you have an idea? It is interesting that all these reproaches that the couples have the conviction, 80% of the couples have the conviction that these reproaches are changeable. They are not fixed. There can be done something to make it happen in a good sense. I want to close with the last few lines of a love song of the poet, the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke. And in this poet, he brings together the beauty of personal love, of encounter in love. And it says, but all that touches you and touches me contracts us like a bow that from two strings draws forth a single voice. From two strings draws forth a single voice. Upon which instrument are we two strung? And who, pray, is the fiddler who holds us in his hand? O sweetful song. Thank you.